Chapter 1. There is no the one. Alright, let's get one thing straight, dude. There is no such thing as the one. The idea is as real as a unicorn riding a rainbow. We've all been fed this fairy tale nonsense since we were kids. That somewhere out there is this perfect, flawless woman who will magically fit into your life like the final piece of a jigsaw puzzle. Well, it's time to wake up from that dream. First off, let's acknowledge a cold, hard fact. No one, absolutely no one, is perfect. Not you, not me, and definitely not that girl you're holding up on a pedestal. So, before you start nitpicking her flaws, take a look in the mirror. You've got your quirks, you've got your issues, whether you admit to them or not. So now here's the kicker. Relationships are about compatibility, not perfection. You and your lady are like two puzzle pieces. Sure, they may not fit perfectly, but with a bit of adjustment and compromise, you can make it work. You two are not meant to change each other. You two need to compromise. And speaking of compromise, that's essential, my friend. You can't expect everything to be smooth sailing from day one. After the initial honeymoon period, you're going to discover stuff about her that you didn't sign up for. She might have insecurities that drive you up the wall, or she could dump her daily rants on you. But guess what? That is part of being a supportive partner. It's not all roses and sunshine. It's dealing with the storms together. Chapter 2. Their insecurities will sting you like a wasp. When you're in a relationship with a woman, sooner or later you're gonna hit the insecurity bump. Brace yourself. It's like stepping on a wasp's nest. Picture this. She starts questioning why you chose her, throws doubts about her looks, and you're left there thinking, I've done so much for you and you're not seeing it. But here's the kicker. It's not about you. And it's not about how much you've done. It's about her insecurities. Those little demons that haunt her mind. Now, she might not handle these insecurities gracefully. No, not always. She might unleash a barrage of questions. Like, why are you still following your ex on Instagram? Or, you frown when a good-looking woman appeared on the TV scene during your movie night. You see, dude, that's just the way it goes when you're dealing with most women. It's not a personal attack. It's her own insecurities spilling out. You're gonna need patience, and you're gonna need a couple of Home Depot buckets of it. She's gonna take it out on you sometimes, get defensive, and maybe even ignore your feelings during arguments. But in the end, if you both are committed, she'll see things through. She'll realize that these insecurities are her own battle to fight, not yours. However, here's a deal breaker here. You gotta be alert. If these patterns of insecurity persist and she doesn't acknowledge them or work on them, it might be time to reconsider things. Some issues are either beyond fixing or will take actual eons, leaving you in a constant state of suffering. Don't forget to take care of yourself in the process, my dude. You are not her emotional punching bag and you deserve happiness. Chapter 3. The worst qualities don't surface until a year in, but there are signs, so watch out. Let me drop some cold, hard wisdom on you. You know that feeling when you're in a new relationship and it's all sunshine, rainbows, and sweet kisses? Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But here's the kicker, the real punch in the gut. The worst qualities of your partner often stay hidden for about a year, give or take. In those first few months, she'll seem like an absolute gem. You're madly in love and nothing in the world could possibly go wrong. But let me say one thing. Every human being has a lot of flaws. At least some, obviously some more than others, but every human being has flaws. And those ugly bits we tend to keep under wraps until later in the game. Whether or not you realize it, you're probably doing it too. Now here's where most of us mess up. Those annoying little things she does, those quirks that we find initially cute or endearing, yeah, those are signs. They're like little red flags fluttering in the wind, desperately trying to get your attention. But hold on, you're probably thinking, oh, that's not a big deal. She's so amazing in so many other ways. You start convincing yourself that the good stuff outweighs the bad, and I mean, she might be incredible in bed, right? But don't let that fog your judgment. Here is the stone-cold truth from someone who's learned the hard way. If you brush off those early signs, if you pretend those quirks are harmless, you're just setting yourself up for a rocky journey down the line. those little quirks can morph into colossal roadblocks in your relationship. And by that point, breaking free? Easier said than done. Let me share a little story without naming any names. Alright, so there was this girl, let's call her... Well, let's not call her anything, actually. So early on, she had this tiny quirk. She was a bit possessive. At first, it seemed cute, like she just really cared, But as time went by, it escalated. She'd question every move I made, every person I talked to. She'd even scroll through my phone when I wasn't looking. Fast forward a year, and this little quirk became a monster. We would argue over every little thing, and trust me, there's nothing more soul-draining than constant distrust and jealousy. But here's the kicker. I couldn't just walk away. But why? Well, because by that point, I had invested so much, I had poured my heart and soul into the relationship. And walking away felt like throwing all that time and effort down the drain. Plus, I still saw glimpses of the girl that I fell in love with, and I was just holding on to some silly hope in my heart that she would change. But you know what? People rarely change overnight. It's an agonizingly slow process, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. So there I was, trapped in a cycle of arguments, distrust, and unhappiness. Breaking free felt impossible because in the end, I had grown so entangled in all that mess. So, pay attention to those quirks. Don't let love blind you to the signs. Those quirks that seem harmless now, they could turn your life into a never-ending hell. Trust me, it's worth it in the long run. Chapter 4. Believing abuse is normal. Alright, let's talk about something that might hit a bit close to home for some of you. It's a harsh truth, and it's something that you need to be aware of when it comes to relationships with women. You see, not everyone has the privilege of growing up in a loving, healthy environment. Some women, just like a lot of men, have been raised in households where abuse was as common as breakfast. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, it was all a part of their daily lives. Now here's the important bit. If that is all they've ever known, they might not recognize it as abuse. To them, it's life. So when they get into a relationship with you, they might bring all that baggage along. They might make that arguments escalating into shouting matches. They might make that perfectly normal. They might believe that being belittled or manipulated is just par for the course. And guess what? They might even believe that you are supposed to be the same way. It's a messed up cycle, and it is a recipe for disaster. You, being the decent dude you are, might not even realize what's happening at first. You'll try to be understanding, compassionate, and patient. You'll tell yourself she's just been through a lot, and you want to help her heal. It's admirable, right? But here's the harsh reality. You can't change someone who doesn't want to change, and you can't fix a broken past. If she doesn't recognize that her behavior or expectations are unhealthy, then, well, you're in for a bumpy ride. Now, I'm not just saying that you should run for the hills at the first sign of trouble. Man, we all got our demons. We all deserve a chance to heal and grow. But there's a fine line between being understanding and being a punching bag. If you find yourself in a relationship where abuse in any form becomes the norm, and your partner is unwilling to acknowledge it or seek help, well, it's time to reconsider your options. Staying in a toxic relationship will only drag you down and damage your own well-being. Remember, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And it's not your responsibility to fix someone else's life. Your first priority should always be your own mental and emotional health. Be aware of the signs and don't fall into the trap of thinking that abuse is normal or something that you can fix single-handedly. You deserve a healthy, loving relationship just as much as anyone else. So don't you settle for less. Be prepared for these realities. Don't fool yourself into thinking that love is some smooth sailing boat. Remember this, taking care of yourself should be your top priority. You can't accept becoming an emotional punching bag. If you find yourself in a situation that is constantly draining you, do not be afraid to reassess and make the tough choices that need to be made. Sometimes it's better to walk away from a toxic situation than to let it consume you. At some point in every man's life, you face rejection. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. No man will go through this life without ever getting rejected. It could be a business proposal. It could be your family not letting you have your way. It could also be women. Now, for a lot of men, rejection from women is the worst. A lot of us have experienced it. I certainly have. So, I can tell you for free that it hurts. But why does it happen? Too nice. Yeah, that's the reason why I got rejected by a girl. I always let her have her way. I was always there for her, even when she didn't deserve it. Even when she ignored me, I'd keep texting her. It's too much for her. Interestingly, she broke things up by saying she doesn't think she deserves such kindness from a dude. Yeah, women will say anything to get a nice man off their backs. Simply put, women don't want a simp just as much as your inner self doesn't want it. It's degrading and it doesn't command respect. Women generally like powerful men who can command respect. They'll interpret your niceness as a lack of assertiveness or confidence. One research showed that women are more attracted to men who exhibit confidence and assertiveness, even if they're not always nice. So don't ever fall for the trick that women want men who always pamper them. Wrong. They have the mother instincts, so they're the ones who want to do the pampering. Being too needy and emotional. Now, as a rule of thumb, you shouldn't do anything excessively when it comes to women. Don't be too nice, don't be too bossy, and don't be too needy and emotional. A woman can feel overwhelmed and suffocated when you get too clingy or constantly demand attention. You have to realize that a woman needs a protector, not a crybaby. They desire a partner who's tough, confident, and emotionally connected. Be a handyman who can make her laugh, and she will hand you the keys to her heart. Now, you've probably heard that women like to have heart-to-heart discussions. Well, you better make sure she's doing most of the talking, or else you risk turning her off or running her away, or at least doing an even share of talking. However, you must also remember that she doesn't want a robot. So if it's really about striking the right balance, you only need to show enough emotion to be human, but don't cross over too much to being a baby. Being too available. So you hit her up on Monday for an evening dinner and she says no, saying she's busy without offering another date. Later, she went out with Michael that same night, who later used her and dumped her. Now, desperate for a shoulder to cry on, she calls you on Saturday for lunch and you happily accept. You guys meet up and she just drones on about all the things Michael did to her and how he's such a monster. Now you think you have a chance. Well, the only way you have a chance is if she doesn't ever meet a real man again, because from the moment you happily accepted her invite, you friend-zoned yourself. When a man is always at a woman's beck and call, elevating her to a pedestal, it often sends a signal of desperation and a lack of confidence. Women are naturally drawn to men who are self-assured and lead fulfilling lives. If you continually seek to please her, it can convey neediness and clinginess. A man should maintain his individual life and allocate time to his partner without being overly available. Lack of purpose. As I said earlier, a woman needs a protector and a provider. That is the role of a man in a relationship, or that is the role of a human being in the world, I suppose, is more accurate nowadays. And that is true even in the animal kingdom. The lioness, for example, is the one that gets the food, while the male, the lion, fends off predators. That's just the way it is amongst most living creatures. So why should a woman want to stick with you when you don't have anything going for you? Why should anyone, for that matter, want to be around you if you lack purpose? Ambition is an attractive quality, as it showcases motivation and a sense of purpose. Women are naturally drawn to partners who are ambitious and driven. And here's a fact for you. A survey conducted by Zeus revealed that 64% of women consider ambition a vital quality in a partner. So there you have it. Having goals and aspirations in life and actively working towards them is essential. Possessing a sense of direction and striving for personal growth not only enriches your own life, but it also sends loads of women looking your way. After all, everyone wants to be successful. And while a woman might not want to struggle and achieve that success, she would want to find a man who can achieve it. And if she's wise, she will help him achieve it, not be a distraction. Now that we're halfway through the video, why don't you hit the like button and subscribe to support the channel. All done? Let's get back to the list. Dirtiness. Now, this is not the reason women reject men. This is the reason any respectable person avoids someone who doesn't respect himself or herself. Themselves, sorry. You don't want to show up on a date night with a lingering aroma of last night's takeout and clothing that appears to have been through an oil change. She most likely won't entertain the thought of having a drink with you, let alone spending the night. You definitely need to shower, wear a cologne, and look sharp in fitted clothes. When you look good, you are more likely to feel good. Your confidence level plays a pivotal role, and a lack of confidence can be a major turnoff for women. But listen, all of this is surface level. There is a particular reason why dirtiness is also on this list. And maybe I shouldn't have called it dirtiness, but it is relatable, so bear with me. You see, it's not enough to wear new clothes that are fitted and a cologne. You need to create your own look. You need to wear a look that tells people what you're about. You need to let your look represent your brand. Celebrities understand this after all. Their image is their bread and butter. So take your time, try out different things, find your best look, and stick to it. Career ambition. Now this is something peculiar to certain women. You see, some women have strict requirements regarding a man's profession or income. Now this might be off-putting, but it simply shows that they know what they want, which is good. But then, some women are more interested in men who are into certain fields. Yeah, I've been with a lady who obviously only wanted a man who was into STEM fields. She was a doctor, and she desperately wanted a man who could meet her standards. And no, making a ton of money was not enough. Why? Well, she believed making money online wasn't reliable. That was her belief, and quite a lot of educated women are like that. So in such cases, you just gotta let her go. On the other hand, we got gold diggers who don't really care what you do. They only care about how much you're making. They don't want to know how you do it, whether it's illegal or not. As long as it shows that you're high on the food chain. Well, you better watch out for this type of woman because they're playing the game for a long time and they will manipulate you and they will leave you bereft. Now, you don't have to worry if you don't make as much as they want. They'll just leave you. But if you do, then they can give you so much love and make you feel like a king until you're comfortable enough to probably marry them. And from there, you know how it goes. It's divorce and settlement. Avoid both types of women. Reputation. If you've earned a reputation for entering into serious relationships only to end them abruptly, it's natural for women to be cautious about dating you. You know, once bitten, twice shy. Biting a friend from the clique is the same as biting everybody in the clique. While everyone has experienced unsuccessful relationships in the past, a pattern of repeated breakups may suggest that you're having commitment issues that need to be solved. Now, usually a man should work to maintain his reputation, but that's when we're talking about a good reputation. As always, a bad reputation is something that you need to do away with. If you have a reputation for cheating and leaving women devastated, then they should rightly avoid you. Improve where you can and avoid the ones that you should. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We would love to help. Also, you can learn more in the next video.